Thank you so much, Ken, for the opportunity and the invitation. A lot of people like to talk about their successes, and I have decided this morning to talk about my failures. It's not easy. It's not fun. It's been challenging to prepare and be ready for this conversation, but we titled this After the Fall. And I'm gonna walk through 3 segments of my life where I fell, and in some ways fell with spectacular failure. Because I think in looking at the failures, we can all see a pathway out. 1991, I was 27 years old. I was a distressed gay man, struggling with being both Christian in my growth, grew up as Catholic, Roman Catholic and Christian, and also gay. And I sought a way out of this conflict that would enable me to have peace in my life. And I applied and was accepted into one of the ex-gay ministry programs that's designed to cure people of their homosexuality. And I remember when I applied, the guy on the phone who talked to me said, "This is a desperate program for desperate people." And I said, "That's me. I need out of the pain that I am in right now." So I applied, I was accepted. I gave up a job that I loved as both an administrator and a teacher at the Catholic high school I had attended and really grew up on the campus of. Traded my brand new Corsica for a Datsun that was 15 years old, and I packed everything that I owned in the Datsun, and I drove from Kansas to California because this ex-gay ministry program was located 12 miles across the Golden Gate Bridge in Marin County. I gave up, my career was supposed to be something that wasn't a career move, and so I worked as a secretary for 4 stockbrokers at Shearson Lehman Brothers. And it was a 1-year program, and after 6 months, I was given time off for bad behavior, and I was alone. I couldn't go back to Kansas to the job and to the life that I had known, and I was living in the Bay Area and frightened at what I would do next. In 2003, and some of you know this story from talks I have delivered here before or from the TED Talk that I have out there. In 2003, I was in a transition in my life. I had moved back home to Kansas, had tried to work again at that same school as an administrator, and it didn't go well. I got my 3rd DUI. I returned to New York one weekend, exactly 18 years ago today, to attend an event for a friend of mine in New York City. And while I was back in New York, I had to slip one more time with drugs and alcohol. And for 25 years, I had been trying to get away from my challenge with addiction to substances. And I was unemployed, I was uninsured, I was unstable, and I made a near-fatal attempt on my life. For those of you who don't know my story, I am one of the few people who has lived from a jump off of the Manhattan Bridge. And that was, without question, the darkest night of my soul. And the 3rd failure that I want to share with you, and some of you know a little bit about this, most of you don't, is that in 2020, I lost not 1, but 2 jobs that I love from the same employer. I've worked at Stanford, as Ken said, for the last 13 years, where I had both a faculty appointment teaching. I have a couple of my former students here. And in the last year at Stanford, I also had an administrative appointment running a leadership program. Both jobs I loved, and probably more than I should have, I said, I've written the last cover letter of my life. And in January of 2020, right before we went into lockdown, I received an email from the dean over my teaching position saying, we love that you teach, you're doing really well of it. Because you have an administrative role, we won't be using you in the classroom anymore. After 13 years. It has nothing to do with performance, but we won't be using you in the classroom because you're an administrator. It hurt, but then I thought, well, I have a job I love. I have a day job I love. My full-time appointment was as an administrator. And in May, I got my first performance review, and it wasn't perfect, but it was solid. And all the stuff that was there, I was harder on myself than my boss ever was. And he said, JD, just relax, correct these few things. We're going to be in great shape for your second year. And in 6 weeks, all of that changed. And by the first week of July, it was clear that my boss didn't have my back. He didn't respect me and my approach to leadership, and I didn't respect him and his approach to leadership. And so we parted ways. And I thought I could just jump right back into the classroom. And the dean there said, oh, if it wasn't for COVID, we would jump to have you back in the classroom. But we're cutting sections right now. We're not adding sections. And so on September 1st, I was fully unemployed for the first time since right after 9/11. In each of these episodes, I was giving up a life I'd known and stepping into the unknown inside of a failure. And part of what I have found that helps me in that is music. And so Cleo has prepared one of the songs that both helps me, inspires me, and calls me.
I've known dark before, but not like this. This is cold, this is empty, this is numb. The life I had is over, the lights are out. Hello, darkness, I'm ready to succumb. I follow you around, I always have. But you've gone to a place I cannot find. This grief has a gravity, it pulls me down. But a tiny voice whispers in my mind. You are lost, hope is gone, but you must go on and do the next right thing. Can there be a day beyond this night? I don't know what is true anymore. I can't find my direction, I'm all alone. The only voice guiding me was you. How to rise from the floor when it's not you I'm rising for. Just do the next right thing. Take a step again. It is all that I can to do the next right thing. I'll not look too far ahead. It's too much for me to take. But break it down to this next breath, this next step, this next choice is one that I can make. So I'll walk through this night, stumbling blindly toward the light, and do the next right thing. And with the dawn, what comes then? When it's clear that everything will never be the same again, then I'll make the choice to find that voice and do the next right thing. And with the dawn, what comes then, when it's clear that everything will never be the same again, then I'll make the choice. I'll find my voice and do the next right thing.
Wow, thank you. So truly, in each of those failures and many others in my life, I thought the life I knew was over and the lights were out. So what took place when I made the choice to hear the voice is what I'm really excited to be able to share with you. So first of all, letting go of the ex-gay ministry and the ex-gay mentality, let me step into coming out in a way that was terrifying for this little kid from Kansas, now living in the Castro in San Francisco, but that was authentic for me. And when people challenged me, I knew I had done more in my journey of coming out than many had, and I could stand strong and begin to understand what that phrase, gay pride, or Pride Month really meant for me. And it also let me begin to step into a career as an educator, first in the test prep world. I spent 8.5 years working for Kaplan and one of their competitors, and then that set me up to teach in higher ed and opened up my career first at NYU and then at Stanford and at Columbia. And all of that came about because I made choices in that first month or two after being dismissed from the program that were the next right step, like Cleo sang about. And in the suicide attempt, and let me acknowledge, if that is part of your journey, those in the room, those on live stream with us or watching or hearing this later on, I want to be careful about how I treat that because it can trigger for people. And so if that happens, talk to a prayer chaplain if you're here or if you're on Zoom, or talk to someone else. But for me, the failure at that attempt set in place a recovery from depression and addiction that I did not know for the 25 years before that. I love the music that we did earlier about surrender and the whole concept of surrender. I learned early in recovery, after I finally surrendered in 2003, that surrender isn't throwing in the towel. It's not giving up. It's not saying I can't do it. It's not admitting failure. Surrender is going over to the winning side. That's what surrender is. In fact, I said that once in an AA meeting. I learned that once in an AA meeting, and somebody corrected me and said, it's not just going over to the winning side, it's putting yourself in the care of those who are winning. That's what we mean when we say surrender. And finally, when I had nearly lost everything, I could surrender, and I could step into that. And accepting Stanford's elimination of both my teaching and my administrative role. Let me be clear, I am not yet to the point of gratitude. That may happen. We're giving these windows 100 years. It may yet happen, But I am to the point of seeing that I'm doing some stuff today that I would have never done if I still had a full-time faculty and staff appointment at Stanford's Graduate School of Business. I've been emboldened and in some places forced to embark on a new pathway and a new full-time commitment and understanding of who I am in the world. Many of us, and particularly men, I think all of us struggle with this, but particularly men are grown up to be identified with your career. And so not being able to say that I am a professor at Stanford took some time, took some weeks and months before I could even acknowledge it. So in the past 11 months of what I lovingly call unpaid sabbatical, I've written poetry. I volunteered on the election. I trained and I'm now certified as a crisis counselor for people who use the crisis text line as a way to reach out for help. And 4 hours a week, I do a late night shift to be with people who are in their dark night of the soul. I committed to my own self-development in a whole new way, not like a New Year's resolution, but really stepping into who I wanted to be and what I needed. I have one whole line on my phone now that is my Noom app for fitness, my Invisalign app for straightening my teeth, my Fitbit for keeping my steps up, and my Headspace for daily meditation. And using my apps in that way has enabled me to really commit to who I want to be. Not for Ken, not for my family, not for anyone else, for me. I've explored scores of jobs. I've applied for dozens of them. I've interviewed for 4 and have been offered none. And in that, I have recognized that my good isn't going to come from another full-time employer. And in fact, last month, as Ken and I discussed it and went through, we made the choice that I actually am just going to stand in the career I already have as a speaker, as an author, as a coach, as a communications expert. And in that standing in, I finished my second book on May 31st, and it's called A Bridge Back to Life. One man's journey from the edge of death to the center of life. And it will be published before 2021 is over. And, thank you. And we qualified for a mortgage with me being not unemployed, self-employed, and Ken working for a church which doesn't necessarily always bring the kind of incomes that Google and Facebook offer. I think I can say that safely with all the board members that are here in the room. And so life is really different now than it was in July of 2020 and August of 2020 when my identity left me, but not my power. Now, it would be very easy at this point in time to go, oh, that's nice for you. I'm glad, JD, that all worked out. But that's not the point. The point is the steps I took are steps anyone can take. And so I've broken it down to 5 things, and I invite you to think about where these 5 things can play out for you. First, experience the pain. Don't run through it. Don't medicate it, don't self-medicate it, don't avoid it. Experience the pain and be with the grief. Be with. Some days suck, and just let that be a part of the experience. Second, go within, but don't go alone. I have recognized that my mind is like a dangerous neighborhood. Do not go there by yourself, JD. Which leads me to 3, and that is build a dream team. For me, that includes my therapist, my sponsor, my spouse, as well as my pastor and my spiritual director in my own faith tradition. I still attend Roman Catholic services as well as Unity services. So go within, but don't go alone. Build a dream team of who you need around you. Fourth, When you can't go fishing, repair your nets. When you can't be out there doing what you think it is for you to do, build your skills. Never has it been easier to take master classes or self-paced classes. I did a great four-month seminar with the Modern Elder Academy about transitioning in our 50s and 60s and 70s. I took lots of online classes and I built my skills when I couldn't be out there fishing. And fifth, set and achieve short-term goals. Sometimes that's just making the bed or finding the jeans in whatever box they're packed in. Set and achieve short-term goals, because as you do that, you build the muscle of achieving longer-term goals and bigger goals in your life. So here I am, 30 years later, returning to Marin County, one exit further up the 101 than where the ex-gay ministry house was, and yet worlds apart. Moving in with my husband and my oldest son and my daughter and my youngest son. I am stepping into a life bigger than I ever imagined. And all of this is only possible because I had some setbacks. I had some failures. After the fall comes a rise. And so I want to close with a poem, the end of a poem by Emily Dickinson that I think really captures this. She writes, "We never know how high we are until we are called to rise. And then, if we are true to plan, our statures touch the skies." I invite you, in whatever failure you've experienced, whatever falls you've had, to touch the skies. And let's do that together as a community. With that, I'll turn back to Ken for our meditation.
Thank you, JD. So we have a song about surrender. And in the Absolute Abundance course, Misa's going to sing it for us. There's a chapter on surrender, and it's the most pushback I get in the whole course. I want to tell them the way to success is by surrendering. Listen to this, and we'll take it to meditation.
I will surrender to my great and highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith. And I am stronger every moment, every day. My mind is willing and my heart is open wide. I trust my instincts and let spirit be my guide. I vow to live a life that's real and true and free. As I continue walking in this mystery, I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith. And I am grateful every moment, every day.
I am grateful even for the little things. If we can't be grateful for the big things, we take this moment to notice where we are in this journey that we call life, this journey that is our life. We just allow our feelings. No judgment. No squashing. Feel. And surrender to the process. Surrender to the feeling. Surrender to disappointment or to frustration. Surrender to joy. What if you actually allowed yourself to feel joy without worrying that it won't last? Surrender to love, for it truly is the thing that cures all, bridges all, shifts all, changes all. Love is the answer. So in this moment, surrender to the chair. Surrender to the meditation. Surrender to the silence. 30 blissful seconds where Reverend Ken isn't speaking. And be with it in complete peace. Surrender your identity, who you think you are. For the truth is, you are far greater than you could ever imagine. Surrender your identity, for the things you think are unlovable are the unique expression of your life's journey. Surrender to the bliss of this now moment, the eternity that exists here and now. Surrender to the fall.
I will release any fear that blocks my way.
Surrender it all.
I vow to live a life that's real and pure and free. As I surrender, walking in this mystery, I will surrender to walking in this mystery, and I'll grow stronger walking in this mystery.
And so it is. Amen.